Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna Washington. I am a graduate student at the University of Kentucky. I am currently enrolled in the Rehabilitation Counseling Program with a concentration in mental health counseling. Today, I'm here to do a presentation on communicating with empathy, and we will just go ahead and jump right in. So, a lot of times, the commonest negative associations of empathy are that most people don't want to show empathy to others due to the fact that it costs them. It taxes their emotions. It is emotionally draining. It is, oh, I feel your pain. And so you feel like you take on the burden of that individual's problems when showing empathy, in fact, is not that at all. So, what is empathy? According to our text, empathy is the cognitive and affective processes of perceiving the emotions of others, our feeling, and then action on our perception of those emotions. And so, I'll talk a little bit about perspective taking, sympathetic responses, and empathetic responses, right? So, perspective taking is what are you perceiving from that emotion? Sympathetic is being able to relate to that emotion, and empathetic is not only feeling it, but relating to that person and sometimes even experiencing that emotion as well. So, how to communicate and approve empathy. And this is kind of where I want to talk a little bit about today. Being able to pay attention to the nonverbal and paralingual cues to be able to understand the emotional content of the verbal message and using the skill of perception checking. And so upon completing this assignment, I completed some research, and I'm going to, of course, give you the little spill that's here, but kind of dig a little bit more deeper in showing how that is implemented in using what I've learned through the text, learned through research to be able to kind of show you what empathy really is. And so, in completion of research, it has shown that empathy is overall the awareness of others' feelings and emotions, which causes us to have a high emotional intelligence when we are able to link others' emotions to ourselves. And that was commonly threaded throughout the three different articles in which I read, as well as our text. And so the scenario I want to kind of tie all that into is a friend's wedding. And so I want to kind of give you a scenario where my best friend was getting married. And this took place about a couple of years ago. And of course, I'm going to change up a few things in this scenario so that her identity is kind of concealed, but just being able to kind of show you what it looks like from a friend perspective. And so, weddings are reportedly the most happiest time of someone's life. They are just excited. They're full of joy. They're marrying their best friend for the most part. And this is, of course, I say at most because sometimes weddings aren't that. Sometimes weddings are forced upon by families and things like that, depending on culture. Which I don't really want to get into a lot of that, but I want to kind of just stick to this scenario. So I do want to just say that caveat just so that it is recognized that some weddings aren't exciting for some individuals due to religious beliefs, due to cultural background, due to family issues and things of that nature. And so, with friend's wedding, it's exciting. It's the most exciting time in their life. And they're just so happy to marry their best friend. So I show up to my friend's wedding the day of as her matron of honor to stand by her side, cheer her on in this thing called life, in this thing called marriage. And, all up until planning the wedding, just excited through the several months of planning. However, at some point during the planning process, her grandmother had passed away. And in the passing of her grandmother, thinking, we've grieved, we've dealt with that emotion as her friend, and I've kind of been there for her for that. Her day of her wedding, I show up, she's getting her makeup done, I'm dressed, I'm ready, I'm assisting her, and she's just in this very somber mood. I mean, she's not really smiling, she's constantly looking at pictures in her phone, she's not present. And I know for her, this is a sign of distress. This is not her. She's normally very happy, upbeat. And I say, hey, what's going on? I notice you're not yourself. You're about to marry your best friend. Like, you've been waiting on this moment for several years. You've been dating this guy for several years, and this is the man of your dreams. And, you guys have worked so hard to get to this point. And I instantly, as her friend, started zoning in on the marriage. And I think about all the other different factors that could be contributing to how she was feeling in that moment. And so I really took a time to sit back and say, pay attention to what pictures she was looking at. And those pictures were pictures of her grandmother. And in that moment, I knew that she was grieving the fact that her grandmother could not be a part of her big day. And so I instantly was able to say, friend, I know what you've gone through. My grandmother was also not able to be at my big day as well. I understand the emotions that you're currently feeling, the sadness that you're feeling, and that you're still grieving the loss of your grandmother. And so being able to relate to her and kind of bring her back, your grandmother would want you to enjoy your day. She wants you to be so excited to marry the man of your dreams. And so that's just kind of what we focused on. So being able to take that somber moment for her and turn it around, and ensuring her that her grandmother was going to meet her down there at that altar, because there were pictures of her grandmother at the altar, and we made sure that her grandmother was a part of her day, and just reiterated that for her. And in that moment, she was ready, she was excited, she was happy, and she was joyous. But it took being able to step aside for a moment and put away all the happy feelings that everyone in the room was feeling, and everyone was so excited. But being able to kind of key in on the moment in which she was sad, and what she wasn't sad because she was getting ready to, throw away the single life, as some people may say, but she was sad because she was missing her grandmother, and that's appropriate for the moment. And being able to know that she wasn't going to share that moment with her grandmother, so being able to empathize with her from where she was coming from, to shed those tears with her in that moment, and being able to sympathize and empathize with her in that moment. So that's just kind of where that went. And so that's just a small example. So in showing empathy, you want to be present. You want to recognize the verbal and the nonverbal. Think about your relationship to this person and what it is that they're going to, and as well as the similarities and relatable experiences. And so those were some things that I was able to do in this scenario, which is what I kind of shared with you all in this moment, so that you guys can kind of take away what it is to show empathy, what it is to be present in the moment with the individual person who's experiencing a high or a low, and being able to relate to what it is that they're going through. And here is a list of my references. I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.